everybody, welcome back to Clark Railworks, where we've got a bit of a hands-on video for you this afternoon. You're probably familiar with our Prestwin wagons already, and thanks to all of you out there, they've been incredibly popular. But what you might know about Prestwins is that, like pressed flows, they were almost never clean. So at some point, you're probably going to want to make your Prestwins mucky. So as chance would have it, we've got the perfect gentleman here to show you how he does it.
He dragged me away from my modelling bench for half an hour.
From his desk, brought him into this lovely sunlit room to show us how he puts the finishing touches to Prestwin wagons. And I think this is a world first for us because it's the first time we've done double O gauge weathering on film.
I think, yes, it will be. Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Because, of course, we are expanding our activities a little bit, and from summertime, we're going to be offering weathering on our double O gauge products, as well as our O gauge products.
We are.
With yourself and your good apprentice Faye.
And my apprentice Faye, yes.
Fantastic. So I guess that the first thing to kind of cover is you've got a box fresh set of Prestwin wagons, and these are yours, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So these are actually mine.
So you've got skin in the game.
So actually, in a polite way, I've got to weather my own ones at work.
Yes.
Yeah, on the works time for a change.
So the pressure's on, you can't screw it up. Not that you do anyway, obviously. So I guess the most obvious starting point is you've got your box fresh set of Prestwins, hot off the press. You want to make them dirty. Where do you start?
First thing to do on any wagon, in any scale, we've got what they call the chemically blackened wheels, and they, as nice as they are, look a lot better if they're weathered in first. Right. So on that, the first thing I would do is use a dark to mid brown enamel paint to weather them back in so that you don't see them.
And you're going to do that with a brush or with an airbrush?
I would do that literally with a brush. So I would just literally straight out of the pot and just literally paint it straight round, straight underneath, get it in there, get that weathered in.
Okay. And is there any particular colour you use for that? Is there a go-to colour you have?
I normally use a dark earth, something like that, because they're not actually rusty. They're that darker brown that steel goes when it's not actually corroded. It goes almost like a chocolatey colour.
Yeah.
So it's almost on the verge of going towards black, but not black. So I would do those first before anything else. Okay. And then from then on, I would then be on to underframe dirts,
right,
weathering with the spray gun, and up onto the body, as you can see, and up onto the top. And then with pressed flows or pressed twins, anything that's got cement dust in it, you get that residue of dust. So as the one we've done here already, underneath now has already been sprayed in a mid-grey colour, which will represent the dust that gets around everything and clings to items that are oily, greasy, damp, etc., that were never really got off and cleaned off. And that includes the areas around the checker plate, anti-slip areas on the top of the running plates here, and some on the top. It seems to be on photographs that Prestwins didn't get as badly overly weathered as some of the early press flows. Okay. However, that's not to say there isn't an image out there of them covered in it.
No, there's a prototype for everything.
There's a prototype for everything,
but you generally work from photos.
I do, and sometimes I also say that with weathering, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Get too much
start off. You can always build up afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. We once did a Black 5, and it wanted to be that heavily weathered that the rear crest and the lining was to disappear on it from photographs. We did it, but had I have done it without a photograph, I think people would have probably thought that's a little bit too much.
It's gonna be overboard there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was as the client wanted it. So it's not a criticism there. It was just, I'm glad we had the photo because I don't think I would have gone that far.
No.
It was, that's what they want. There's the photograph to prove it looked like that.
Absolutely.
So photographs, and there's plenty of websites out there that you can bring an image up, whether it be on your phone, whether you print one out, whether you've got a laptop near you, iPad, whatever, you can bring an image up. And there's plenty of absolutely superb books out there that you can buy about weathered wagons and things like that. So once we've got the image that we're going to do, that gives us the indication of where things are And on this one that we've more or less done in true Blue Peter style,
Yep.
we've done that very similar to this image here. We've started to weather her in. She's that way around actually to the image. And we've done the initial weathering with underframe dirt. Then we've gone on to it's called roof dirt, which is a very similar to a cement colour.
Right.
Then I used some what they call bourbon brown, which is a dark brown, because it appears that a lot of press flows had press twins even. That's because I've been doing some press flows this morning in 7mm.
Yeah.
They seem to go a little bit browner than the bauxite colour that they were painted in.
Okay.
On this area here. So we've added some of that to that as well. Some more added colour on the top on this side, as you can see, because we've not actually put the final touches on yet, which is the roof dirt with the spray gun.
So that's what we're here to do, is the final touches.
We are.
This is kind of one you've part baked.
Yeah.
Which pretty much anybody could get to this stage with it.
It is,
working from photos.
But I also stress on this press twin, and even if anybody's watching this that's wanting to do a press flow, even in 4mm, 7mm, there is this cementcrete of dust that becomes wet and sets, that you need to have some way of creating it, because it's not just the dirt. Right. It's literally something you could feel on the actual.
It's like a crust.
It's a crust, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because of all the finely powdered substances.
That just gets
sort of
damp
welling up
and
getting,
didn't always get off, which is something that is a little way of doing it. So I thought what we'd do is just a little mention on how I create it, and I use these, which are ammo weathering powders, and this one's a light dust.
So because of what you've done already, I guess you've got quite it's a bit adhesive, the surface. You don't really need to prepare it past the weathering. It's going to
we are
really
going to use one little thing that we don't normally use for weathering that often.
Okay.
Because we're wanting some of this residue to stick, if we just did, like I'm going to show you now, we could just do that and put some on, as you can see.
Yeah.
However,
as soon as you pick it up,
it's going to disappear.
Off it comes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to disappear, look. It's going, it's gone. You know, it's made a slight mark, but not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough to get that round the top like we want on these pictures here. So what I actually do is I use ballast bond, which is basically watered down PVA glue.
Put your sticky track that you've got
Put your
over there,
sticky track down with, or so we use in
Yeah.
this one we're using Deluxe Materials ballast bond.
Yeah.
Capillary a little bit out into a little tray. You're not going to need much. Choose what scale you're working in. Fine brush. I'm going to work backwards deliberately so you can see to the camera rather than working this side. We'll start working over here. So where we want it to go, we just put some on, bit around the roof area. We'll do a little bit down that side as a run. And then using an old flat brush, we literally stipple it on.
And I guess that stuff isn't necessarily exclusive to Prestwins. You could use that ballast bond method with any other freight vehicle or even
anything
engines that you want to stick some sort of solid residue
and
to
it will stick to it. So basically all we're doing is just then soaking it in, little bit on, it soaks in. Just a little bit, I'll blow that off. As you can see now, if I use the pen to point with, it stayed on. As the ones I did when I prepped this one yesterday, it's on.
Yeah.
It stayed on as a stain.
Because it's just dried into the glue, yeah.
If we're using like a grey or a white paint to do that with a brush and sort of painting it down, we could do that, but we don't get the dust and the crud effect to it and the depth to it. And even on 4mm, you can still do it. So I'll just show that a little bit again. We'll do some down the bottom here on the checker plate.
Yeah.
As we'll keep saying, bit round the buffer shank. It shows it here that it seems to
it does well up on the bottom. It all falls
yeah, it
down.
sort of clicks round the buffer area. Get a reasonable amount on. Tamper down. Tamper on. Using the glue to take it off. Little bit of a tap, just to get the residue off. blow it off, and as you can see there, I'll try to hold it up. You can now see, once that dries, it'll go back to being looking like the white powder again, and it will stick on.
Which is great, because pretty much everybody's going to have some kind of ballast glue or something like that in their toolkit.
Or you can literally use
Just
normal PVA, 50-50, 40-60, to make it into a watery consistency as that is, an older brush, and just do what you need to do. So we'll do a bit on this side.
And you don't need to worry about sealing it in with any kind of varnish or anything like that, because it's already done.
It's on, you know, just work your way along.
And it's 3D.
It's 3D.
This is the thing
it's a
about
bit
it.
of 3D. Just give it a little tap,
So,
little clean off. As you can see there, it stayed on. What I would say is, don't do the whole wagon in one go.
right.
Because the glue dries pretty quickly, because you're only putting a small amount on.
Right.
It evaporates, and then you're not really getting much sticking power.
So do your glue, do the bit on that,
Yes.
and then do the next bit.
Just do a panel at a time, move along.
Yeah.
And as we were saying earlier on, less is more. We're not wanting tons of it on. It appears that, you know, they were dirty, but the cement side of the dirt was not massive, as you can see on them there. This next one along looks to have a bit more here on this sort of area. On the next one,
It's got a bit of a spillage there.
probably what. So you can do that with it. Little tap off, soft brush just to clean it. A little bit of a spray, and as we can see there, it's on. So the difference is the powder there that you've got, if you can see with my finger, is coming off.
Yeah.
The other bit isn't.
You've got that lovely little runnel there.
It's a little bit of a
very
run.
kind of realistic sort of run off from the top of the tank.
And really, that is in 4 mil is probably enough. You know, because what we're saying again, less is more.
And also, it's something that's 76 times smaller than the real thing, as opposed to 43 times smaller than the real thing. So the weathering, similarly, has got to be scaled back, hasn't it?
It has. You know, we could go to town and put a load more on it and crud up all round here. Really? I'm sure it weren't that bad, because they had to open those up and that are clean something.
Well, they were filled from the top.
Yeah.
That's where all the stuff was put in. So people would be clambering around on the roof all the time, I guess. Yeah.
The other little things we've done on these are, we've obviously done the grease on the buffer heads, which you can see there on the image.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we've got some grease on the axle boxes. This wagon seems to be the special wagon, which I don't know if people are aware of the special wagon.
No, possibly not. I don't think we've talked about specials.
Do you know of the special?
I actually
the special
don't. I actually
wagon?
don't. Is this your special secret? Is this only something only Neil knows about?
This isn't a misbuild.
Okay.
This wagon has got 2 different types of axle boxes.
Oh, yeah? How did that happen then?
Because the factory did it that way, because we told them to, because that actual...
Oh, this was a one-off prototype that had that.
This wagon, in real life, when we took it from images, actually had the 2 different types of axle boxes.
So at some point, maybe it went into works.
And they had an axle box dropped out.
They had a spare axle box.
Because if you look on this side, that end has got the different axle boxes on it.
Okay.
And it's not on every single one.
So I wonder what set
you look on that model, it hasn't got it.
Yeah. I never
because these Prestwins, which I don't think everybody's aware of, are done from images. They're not generically done as in...
Yeah.
The numbers that we've done are from the images.
We always pick locomotives, wagons that we've actually seen in pictures,
Which is why, if we start looking, we've got slightly different numbering.
Yeah.
It's in the different positions. And the handrails on this one are white. The handrails are bauxite on this one. We've got white discharge levers, yellow on this one.
Which is fantastic, because it means
variation on a thing.
Just got 2 or 3 Prestwins, you've got those subtle differences.
Subtle differences.
Make it so realistic.
Yeah, so it isn't, and it isn't that they're wrong. I believe there's one of them doesn't even have a running number on it. It only has it on the builder's plate.
I think I have noticed that one.
And I know a few people were like, I'm missing a running number off it. No, you're not. The actual one itself didn't have it.
Yeah. So if you're looking to buy Prestwins, guys, all the photos are obviously on the Clark Grail Works website on the profile page. Have a close look at those details. Have a close look at the numbers, because everything's revealed there. You're going to get subtle differences.
A little hint.
When you make your decision.
A 42B code is the one that gets you the little present of the different axle box.
See the specials. So 42. We're going to have a rush on 42Bs now. We're going to sell out by tomorrow.
That's why I bought a 42B, because I knew it was there.
The last one.
No, that's why I knew it was there.
Right.
I knew from the start we were doing it. on a 42 wing. Another nice little thing on them as well, whilst we're talking about the wagons in general, and I think we do this now on all our wagons, is the vacuum hoses.
Vacuum hoses.
Are rubber.
Yeah.
So you can have a vacuum hose
Yeah.
on and have NEM couplings on. And as you can see, it doesn't stop it moving. It's not like the rigid ones that you
Yeah.
see on some wagons.
It's one of those very, very simple but very, very ingenious things which makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
Because so many people have got those second radius curves on
I
their
know the
layouts.
Lomac's got that on it, hasn't it, as well?
Yeah. Well, the D-mount I think was the first one. We just sort of we've just covered that. But yeah, it's one of those things where you used to have to either have the buffer beam detail or the coupling.
Oh, no.
You couldn't choose. Now you can have,
You can have both. Or
And-
if you were taking that off to put screw links on,
Yeah.
fair enough, that doesn't affect you. But obviously, in this instance, you can see, if I do it that way, you can see it doesn't affect the movement of the coupling.
Yeah.
With it being rubbery, and I think that's a nice little
it's
nice little thing that we forget about mentioning.
Well, it is. And the other thing as well, and again, we sort of pointed it out with our other wagons, is that, you know, it just things like sprung buffers make all the
Yeah.
difference. If you're shunting, if you've got tight quarters, you know, we've got beautifully sprung buffers on these. Because,
do what they're meant
because
to do.
Why wouldn't you? That's what the real thing does.
Yeah.
And that's what we want ours to do as well.
And the underframe detail as well, which
I mean, yeah. You don't see that 90% of the time, but it's all there. It's all exactly as it should be. And yeah, I think I've referred to the Prestwins as our ultimate wagon so far. And I think just looking from the roof down, all of that detail.
well, it's all this area here, isn't
Yeah,
it? I mean,
it's-
it's absolutely lovely.
I was stunned when these came out of the box for the first time, because and just bringing them to life through a little bit of weathering like that, I think
Yeah,
gives
when
you
when you look at the two
full package.
wagons, you know how much different they look.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that's probably a medium weathered. It's not been.
It's a working Prestwin.
Yeah, it's a
an
working
everyday working
Prestwin.
Prestwin.
But how much nicer does it look than the Xbox
I mean,
one?
that looks nice if you like box
Of course.
Prestwin things, but that looks real.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's what we're looking
especially
for.
with a nice Sousa in front of it, something like that. You know.
Yeah, chuntering away. Even a large. I mean, there's like 45s, 46s, 25s. What, you know, first generation diesels are your friends really when it comes
Yeah,
when it
they
comes
are.
to Prestwin.
They just look lovely. Nice 31, something like that with
And
it.
a short rake. You know, you got
Yeah.
these went around in. Sometimes they were shunted around in 2s and 3s and
Yeah,
mixed
you
in with
don't
other
need
wagons.
that big layout to be running them. You could
No.
have a 6 foot shunting plank and have
No.
pack
Yeah.
of 3 quite happily, and they'll happily sit there and shunt away all day long with them.
There you go.
You really would.
The perfect Prestwin. So that's how you do it, guys. Any questions, any comments, as always, drop us a line, drop something in the comments section. Give us a like if you've enjoyed the video, and keep tuned into the channel for the latest updates on what's going on at Clark Railworks. We will have a lot more in the very near future. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks a lot, guys. All the best. Speak to you soon.